Okay guys, so one more additional bit of help in order to get this task finished off. Above on this section here, I've got exactly the same code as what was shown in the last video, where we've gone from building what was a row on the ground to then being a wall, because we've got an additional for loop that changes our Y value on our block place command. So the nested for loop both change the X and the Y. Now we want to modify this a little bit so that we also can change our Z value. You could do an entirely extra section of this code, so you could duplicate this and have that below, just before the end of the overall blue wall command block of code there. But what you really want to try and do with coding is to minimize repetition as much as possible. So what I've done is I've just added in an additional place command here, and I'll pop that in directly underneath here. So we're going to be making use of the same variables as much as possible of row height and row number. I've changed it so it's gold ore, so it's distinguishable from the previous block that we had. But all I've really changed is that the row number that I had on the X value here, I've now moved it to being on the Z value for my gold ore. And I've also got the same offset here of 5, but I've shifted it from the Z value here to the X value here. Alright, so what that's going to do is that will go through the same process that the first time it goes through, it'll build this row extending along the X axis, but this row will extend along the Z axis. Then it'll go up and it'll increase my Y value by 1, and it will repeat this process. So let's test if this works. Hopefully my computer's not too glitchy this time. So we'll go into my wall, exit out, and we'll just give it a little bit of time to think about it. Sometimes it is very slow before it starts popping out the blocks. Okay, so if nothing happens for a little while, mostly it's because of my recording software, but I'm going to go back into my coding window and change these blocks around to force it to think about it. I won't go gravel, that's boring. Let's go iron ore and some polished granite, that's pretty fancy. Okay, so we'll go back into here again, and we'll go into our chat, type in wall, and here we go. So you can see it, because it's glitchy and it's doing it very slowly, you can see the process it's actually taking, that it's building them from the outside in, and it's doing it row by row. So this allows us to have our perpendicular walls. You can see that it would take a little bit of fine tuning there to get them to actually meet properly, so one would overlap the other one instead of having this little cutout section on the end. But that should give you all that you need in order to get the bulk of your house done. Now, please double check the rubric. Remember, you've got to put in windows and doors, so you could always fill some of these walls in with some air blocks later on. And I'd be hoping there'd be some complexity in your roof, so it's not just a plain slab of block at the top. That's okay, that'll get you a point, but if your roof has got a bit more shape, a bit more structure, and you've done some, I guess, fancier coding to get it to work, then that'll give you an extra point.